What we're going to talk about this morning is creating a mastermind. Okay, so basically what a mastermind is it gives you an opportunity to go outside of your own sphere of influence to continue your learning on your own or with somebody else. So a mastermind, if this is you, right, you have your own perspective of what happened in a deal, what's important to a customer, what aspects of a car are the best ones, the ones that you're going to talk about the most with the most passion. All of you guys have different passions for cars, guaranteed. So when you're talking about something that you're passionate about, it comes across with inflection. When you're talking about something that's not as important to you, you just don't have that same amount of passion for it, right? So what a mastermind does for you is it gives you a chance to see things through somebody else's perspective. And I want you guys to all start focusing on this. So if this is you, a mastermind is two or more minds approaching a problem, right? Or reasoning through a problem. So this is your partner. Okay, what happens is you have your perspective and your partner has a different perspective. So what happens is this perspective, especially when you're talking about a deal that they weren't involved with, also becomes objective. What does that mean?
When something is subjective, it has to do with you and your perspective.
Correct.
When it's objective, it's from an outside influence or an outside perspective.
Okay, so your perspective is subjective. You were the one that was involved with the customer. You were involved in the deal. You were working, communicating, trying to make magic
with the subject.
Happen. Correct. Correct. Now, if you sit down with Roger and you guys start talking about a deal that you were involved with, then his information, his perspective is going to be objective because it's a different perspective, right? Now, if it was the other way around, he was talking with you, his perspective is subjective, your perspective is objective. So what happens when you have a subjective view and an objective view and you're discussing details? What happens?
You get more information because they're from different sources and different perspectives, and
Correct.
You have a higher chance of success, or communication at least.
So you end up with more perspective, right? And when you have this mind working in conjunction with this mind, you inherently create a third mind, right? That's why they say two heads are better than one, because you can only see a situation from your perspective, but somebody else can see your situation from a different perspective and give you insight into better ways to manage a situation. Okay, so you create a third mind. What does this third mind do for you?
Opens up more possibilities.
Gives you more possibilities. Okay, it gives you better solutions. Which, if you had better solutions when you were working with the customer, working your way through whatever problems that you were having, right, it guarantees what? Sorry, guys.
Okay, what happened?
Guarantees success. And it accelerates.
Paul notes. Okay, you got Paul's number.
Your learning curve.
Okay, Ben, thank you so much, man. It means a lot. Appreciate it. All right, take care. All right, bye.
Okay, so when you create this third mind by sharing ideas and what happened on a deal with another person, You create this third mind, it creates more possibilities, better solution, guarantees your success, and accelerates your learning curve. And pretty much,
yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that whether it has to do with humility or whatever the motivation might be, don't hesitate to create that third mind, because there's just no bad that can come from it. I mean, just reach out, get people's perspectives, seek the wisdom of people who are further down the road than you in whatever that might be. On the mechanical end of it, I look to people like Waylon. For the experience level, I look to people like Con and Keith. For just raw experience and a full rounded exposure to this business, I look to guys like you and Barry. Right. And I'm never shy about it. I'm not so full of myself where I'm gonna shy away from that. Nothing bad can come from it.
Well, and in the last training that we did, which was the kind of where are you at training, and if you haven't seen it, I'm going to have that one uploaded really soon too. It actually talks about that specifically, and being able to take the information that you gather in your mastermind, and then you bring it to me, or then you bring it to Barry, and we talk about, and we kind of mastermind that together, right? But if we do it individually, then the learning is curtailed. But if you do it together and then you bring it to me, then your learning is expanded. And that goes back to accelerating our learning curve. So when we're going to mastermind a deal, what exactly are we going to talk about?
Objections.
Objections. Okay, what else?
Well, down the list a little further, but it's solutions.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Scenarios, various scenarios. I mean, because you bring them all the time. I mean, you bring these old word, we've heard it 1,000 times from you, ice cream melting in the car. It's
right.
Scenarios.
Right. Well, and you get stories,
mm-hmm.
right? You guys will create stories that you can use later to refer back to, because that's when we store information. The best way to store information is with a story.
This is a family issue, I'm sorry.
I got it.
Very small.
Okay, so this is the type of stuff that we're going to talk about. So the rest of this you're going to definitely want to write down. So what you're going to start with is from the discovery phase is what your summary was. Okay, so however you summarize that customer, this customer, it sounds like you're a performance, oriented person. You like something that looks good, it's going to get you there fast, it's going to be safe, you need a little bit more room in the back for the kids, and it's got to fit your budget. Does that sound like what we're talking about? Yes. Okay, once you get that yes, then you know that you've got your right summary. Okay, and then you're going to want to go to vehicle selection. What car did you take them to, and why?
Whatever the hell that means, okay, I'm down.
Okay, so the why behind what it is that you're doing is a huge factor. Okay. So this was the summary that you gave. Why did you do that? Because they were talking about ABC. And then you picked this car out based on that summary. Why did you pick that car?
Because it fits ABC.
Correct, right? And then after you pick the car that you selected, then you're going to talk about your presentation. Okay, and what you were hitting on during the presentation based on your summary with the customer. And then you might talk about the drive, about the test drive, about what happened on the test drive. Did you do this? Did you not do that? What did they say? What did you say? Right? And make notes on all of this And then when you got back from the test drive, what did that conversation look like? Because this is where that breakdown happens most of the time. Talking to a customer for a few minutes, picking out a car, presenting it to them, and going on a test drive, that's pretty easy. You know, getting somebody to drive a car they've never driven before, it's newer than theirs, it's prettier than theirs, faster, more safe, more reliable, whatever the case is. Getting to hear with a customer is pretty simple. Once you get here, you get back from the test drive, that's when the ice cream starts melting. Okay, great. Is this the right car? Yep, sure is, but I got ice cream melting in the car, so I gotta go. Okay, so this is where the majority of the breakdown comes, and this is where you're gonna need the majority of development. So when you're going over the conversations, you have to be very specific about what was said, about what objections were given to you, about what solutions you presented, and the scenarios in which they came. Because the scenarios can all be very different, right? So then, once you go over this conversation that you had, then you need to write down what your solutions are.
So this conversation, I mean, can this be as simple as, hey, what do you think?
Absolutely. If they say, I love it,
With
let's go
enthusiasm.
inside. Yeah, if they say, I love it, let's go inside and work it out, you're not going to have to mastermind that deal. If they go, yeah, I love that car, I got to go pick up my daughter at ballet practice, something was missed.
I got to think about it.
We missed something. We missed something somewhere in here, and that's where the accelerated learning comes from. So then you're going to write down what your solutions were to those scenarios. Even if you don't bring that to me, you've already put yourself in a position of power, because now you have a different way to think about that deal and how to approach that person the next time you're working with somebody. Does that make sense? So we need to start doing this. You guys can either pick a partner yourself, you can just mastermind with whoever's here. You know, Roger was asking me, well, can I come and mastermind with you? You can, but that's not a mastermind. That's a master and apprentice. So your best bet is to do this with each other, because then you all learn from each other's situations. And when you're the one who's helping come up with solutions, you actually will get the benefit of that solution more so than the person you're giving the solution to. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Okay, good. Let's implement this today. All right? That's it. Nice and easy.